It's the Illegal Elbow Show. Alright, we're back. I want to thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Illegal Elbow Show 5. Lots of cool news, man. Lots of good stuff going on. Strike Force is done, man. We've enjoyed it. Little quick fact for you guys, too. The late 80s. I don't know the exact date, but the late 80s is when Strike Force actually started. Strike Force actually started out with Scott Coker, just kickboxing. You know what I mean? And they progressed, and, and did good over a lot of time, a long period of time, and then eventually they broke into MMA, and I'd say about a 7-8 year span they had with MMA. So, and it was obviously a sweet span. Within 7 years, you're riding UFC, which is a dominant force. Obviously, you're riding UFC. I wouldn't say riding their coattails, but doing fairly good, at least enough for UFC to feel threatened enough to buy them. I mean, because that's what they've done pretty much. Is once you get bought by UFC, they've already bought 3 promotions that we know of: Pride, WEC, and now Strike Force. And shortly after they buy them, within a year's time or a year and a half, they shut down. It's over. Business as usual. My ass. Which I guess the third time around, saying Strike Force, hey, it was business as usual, He pretty much, Dana pretty much made sense, because business as usual means, within about a year and a half, they're done. Lots of news, man. Lots of news going on with the Strike Force being done, and things happening further in UFC because of it. Ben Henderson and Gilbert Melendez, it's looking pretty good for UFC on Fox 7. We're talking April 20th, man. We got a ways to go, 4 months, whatever. Mind you, Ben Henderson is 6-0 right now in UFC. Ever since he's been in the UFC, he's been undefeated, 6-0, right up to the title. I don't see him slowing down for Gilbert Melendez. I think Gilbert should do fairly well, but I think Ben Henderson is just... Ben Henderson, since he got in the UFC, he's just been on another level, man. Just completely another level. The guys he's training with now, it's just... I mean, one key thing to look at is when you look at Ben Henderson and you look at a guy like Gilbert Melendez or a guy like Frankie Edgar, those guys come in there fairly close in weight, right around 155 already, so they don't have really cut a lot of weight. Ben Henderson comes in probably, obviously he weighs in at the right weight, whatever, but at weigh-in, but when it's fight time, he's back to his normal weight, or close to it anyway. He's probably 15, 20 pounds heavier than the person he's fighting, you know what I mean? A lot of these guys go in there, they're going to the weigh-ins, they're going fully dehydrated. Cut all the water weight, get all the water weight off of you, do the best you can, ride the bike. As soon as the weigh-ins are over, man, it's like completely rehydrate, get your body back to getting ready to battle, man, for sure. And hydration is obviously very important. I just think Ben Henderson's going to outweigh Gilbert Melendez. That's a big thing, man. I mean, we've seen that a lot in a lot of fights over the years, So I'm not going to do a video on it or like that right now. I'll do it when it's coming. But it's big news, man. It's definitely big news, man. Gilbert Melendez will be in the UFC, ready to. It's already signed up. Gilbert Melendez 21-2 right now, taking on Ben Henderson 18-2. On paper, it's a great matchup, but I do believe that. Gilbert Melendez is coming off his win over Josh Thompson. And I'm not knocking Gilbert, man. Gilbert's an awesome fighter, great performer, brings it every time, you know what I mean? I thought Josh Thompson did what he had to do to win the last fight, but, hey, I've said it before, and other people have said it before, you have to definitively beat the champion in order to take the belt. You have to. Apparently to the judges, Josh Thompson didn't do it. I thought he did, but... I'm not a judge. I think some of the judges are idiots, but I don't have their job, so. Rory McDonald has plans to embarrass Carlos Condit. Man, that's kind of a tall order, but at the same time, Rory McDonald has been pretty badass, man. Rory McDonald's going to be taking on Carlos Condit, UFC 158 in Montreal. It's redemption, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Condit scored a TKO victory over McDonald. 7 seconds remaining in the fight. So, I mean, that's insane, you know what I mean? And Roy McDonald, I'm sure, is just crazy about wanting to get this this win into wraps, which I can't blame him, man. You know, I can't blame him. He's a hell of a competitor right now, on his way up, huge ramp up right now. Man, this guy's just skyrocketing. You know what I mean? Probably a little more than Carlos Condit. Carlos Condit, obviously, he's coming off a loss to GSP, so it's tough, man. Carlos Condit, though, I mean, he's a guy that's we've seen him come back, you know, and come back stronger. You know, take on guys like Nick Diaz, you know, which a lot of guys find that match to be controversial and shit like that. You know, I thought Condit did what he had to do to win that fight. You know, that's a whole nother video. Condit was backing up a lot of the fight. You know, so a lot of people say, oh, he backed him up the whole time. You know, that's what Nick said himself. I was backing that guy up the whole time. It doesn't matter, man. It's not a boxing match. You know, it's not. It's a whole different world. You know, you can be backing somebody up, but if you're taking shots the whole time or getting kicks to the legs, and we've seen you take kicks to the face in that fight, those are points against you, man. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Those are points against you. This is brought to you by Jägermeister, tasty beverage. Rory McDonald, I think it's going to be a hell of a fight, man. I'd almost want to pick Rory McDonald. Not because I like him better or I think he's a better fighter. I just think he's on such a ramp right now, and there's so much steam in his train right now. Carlos is coming off a loss. So I don't know, man. It's really hard to say, you know. Rory McDonald, he could be one of them guys that might go right all the way up to a title shot. And it's hard to say, man. I mean, GSP, I think, is like Anderson Silva. He's on another level, man. I mean, a lot of guys don't realize what they're getting into when they take a lot of these other guys, you know, top 7, top 6, you know, top 5. They get inside the top 3, and then they realize, oh shit, I got a title shot here, you know, and then they don't realize, geez, I'm getting it with GSP, and the guy really is on a different level than 3s and 4s. I mean, it's just plain simple, man. I mean, and it's been that way for a while because we are in a bit of a passing of the torch right now with BJ Penn, you know, borderline, you know, retiring and then coming out of it. I'm sure the guy's going to retire. Matt Hughes retired. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a passing of the torch going on right now with a lot of weight classes. And GSP, I wouldn't say is ready to retire, but I mean, with where he's at, if he did retire, what's the big deal? The guy don't have anything to prove, man. He has nothing to prove to anybody. Now, I said it in my last video, man. There's no reason to have, you know, GSP and Anderson Silva fight 2 different weight classes. Their whole careers, they've never crossed paths or anything like that. Who gives a shit, man? I mean, it's sure if it happened, I'd like to see it or whatever. I'd probably tune in and watch it. You know, if the rest of the card sucked, you know, like whatever, it's a 157 Ronda Rousey taking on Liz Carmouche for the main event of a UFC card for the first woman fight ever. That's the main event over Lyoto Machida versus Dan Henderson. Would you pay to see Ronda Rousey take on Liz Carmouche as a main event before you would pay Dan Henderson against Lyoto Machida for a main event? Which one would you rather see be the main event? I mean, you tell me, man. It's pretty fucking simple, plain and simple for me to pick between those 2 fights. You know, and this is not me bashing on Ronda Rousey, but I am not a fucking Ronda Rousey fan. Even though as a person, she may be a great person, but the card she's playing right now and what she's doing, calling out, or not calling out, but just ragging on GSP and ragging on this and that, and she's ragging on Kim Kardashian. Who gives a shit? Kim Kardashian? Kardashians as a whole are a publicity stunt. Who gives a shit, man? Who cares? They obviously know what they're doing. Their mom did anyway. You know, bringing this shit all, you know, it's just ridiculous, man. But why Ronda Rousey, you know, surrounds herself in this? Ronda Rousey's making herself into a female Chael Sonnen. Give me a break. Why do you got to do all that? You know, so far your fighting has gotten you where you're at. Why rely on your mouth? It's ridiculous, man. Because if you build your mouth up, you look all great. You're gonna wind up just like Chael, on your back with a knee to your chest, and you're done. You know, or shortly after you're done. I mean, you talked yourself into a title shot. She's the first UFC champion. Why does she need to talk herself into any kind of a title shot? She doesn't need to. It's stupid. But anyway, I don't know. She's a typical bitch, I guess. I don't know. She needs to run her mouth, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to get back to the news, man. There's a lot of good news going on. McDonald taking on Condit, UFC 158. That's going to be a cool fight. I don't care what anybody says, man. Condit's game opponent, McDonald's game opponent. It should be damn good, man. Damn good. Chael Sonnen and John Jones are just itching to face off, man, in the octagon. Let's find out what the exact date is. The two will meet at UFC 159 at April 27th, January 27th, January 22nd on FX UFC Tough, The Ultimate Fighter. What is that going to be, 17, I think? That's what I'm talking about, man. UFC 159 World Light Heavyweight Championship. Jones versus Sonnen. I don't know what excuse Chael's going to get, but I don't know how he's going to do it either. Unless he comes in 220, 230 pounds or something like that, which I wouldn't doubt it with whatever kind of supplements he's got going on. Who does know with Chael? Who does know? You know, the guy's coming off, a couple fights out, off of a suspension. So personally, man, I'd still like to see Jones versus Machida too. You know what I mean? Machida, I think, had that first round in the bag. Second round, he ran into some problems, but every good fighter learns from his mistakes, man. I think Machida would. They're all right there, man. Top 3, top 4, man, right there. I'm talking about Jones, Sonnen, Henderson, and Machida, pretty much top 4. I don't see Sonnen being there because he's new to light heavyweight. So how would he be there? But anyway, it's an exciting fight, man. I would want to see it one time. I don't want to see it 2 times like I did with Anderson. If you don't get this one, you can't come out the gate, talking like a WWE character and get yourself a second shot. You don't deserve it. But anyway, this was a really, really kick-ass fight for Tarek, whatever they want to call him, man. Tarek Saffiedine. I've always known him as Tarek Saffiedine, so that's what I'm going by. Took it to Nate Marquardt, man. He did. He did a great job in that fight. Kept it standing. Did his strengths. And it was a good fight, though, man. I mean, Saffiedine takes the belt in the very last championship fight for Marquardt in StrikeForce. Took the belt. And it's awesome, too, because there's no reason not to take both of them guys. Have them continue that shit. I think a rematch between them guys would be sweet, because it was an awesome fight, man. It was a great fight. Tarek Saffiedine, man, really growing as a fighter. Some people are saying bring him over and give him to the Carlos Condit, Roy McDonald winner. I say fuck no, don't do that, man. Don't bring Tarek Saffiedine at top 3. Don't do it. I don't think that's right. Would I put Nate Marquardt in those fights? Probably not, man. I'd let him work his way up a little bit, man. You know what I mean? I mean, it's obvious. We got Overeem over here, and he made an ass out of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's been through a lot of shit, though. You know what I mean? I'm not a Brock Lesnar fan. You guys know that, man. If you guys have listened to my videos a long time, I'm not a fan of Brock Lesnar. And 5-3 does not get you into the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Gets you in the Hall of Popularity is what it does. Alistair Overeem came over, beat the living daylights out of Brock Lesnar. And it was clear that Brock Lesnar does not take a punch well, man. I mean, and he you're talking about a different level of competition. He's talking about Heath Herring and shit like that. We haven't seen Heath Herring since. If Brock Lesnar can knock Heath Herring out of the competition and be done with it and he goes to movies and he sticks with movies, Heath Herring's been in the game a long time, though, man. I'm not even here to rag on him either, man. I mean, so my damn backdrop is getting in my damn way again. But anyhow, man, so that's... I touched on that, and I didn't even need to, but I did. But Tarek Saffiedine, I say, give him 3 or 4. If you have any kind of brains, unless you're looking to thin out the division, don't bring a guy like that in there, and bring him into the deep end where all the sharks are, and mangle his ass. It's stupid. It's a stupid idea, man. For money and for obvious reasons. Bring him in where he's got a fucking chance to make a name for himself, because it was hard enough for him to get past Nate Marquardt. You know what I mean? That's a lot of game planning. That's a lot of know-how to get in there. And it was a step. I don't care what anybody says, man. It was a step up for him, man. He lost to Tyron Woodley. Learn from it. Come on, man. You got to give the guy a little bit of credit. Cut him a fucking break here, man. The guy's faced adversity. But giving him Carlos Condit / Rory McDonald, not a good idea right now, you know. And this is done on a different web page, thoughts and stuff like that from different web pages, stuff like that. And Vanderlei Silva, only Anderson Silva can defeat John Jones. Jones will swallow Chael Sonnen. That's his words, man. Jones will swallow Chael Sonnen. I tend to agree, man. I mean, if all Chael Sonnen's going to do and go in there and floor him or whatever and try to ground and pound like he did with Anderson, he's not going to win. John Jones is good off his back, man, and his takedown defense is very good, especially at light heavyweight, you know what I mean? Frank Mir is very prepared to meet Daniel Cormier inside the octagon, which, from what I know, has been announced. I think it's for 158 or maybe a UFC on Fox 7. Don't quote me on that, though, because I don't know for sure. I think it is inked. I think it's in writing now. I think so. But we'll have to hang tight and see what's happening with that. Donald Cerrone comes out and says, fight with Anthony Pettis is only business. So I'm taking it there because some kind of friendship going on there, or training partners or whatever. But I don't know exactly what he means by that. It's kind of catching me off guard. But, of course, it's only business. You're not fighting the guy because you want to kick his ass or you hate his family or something. But your boy King Mo, man. Everybody loves King Mo, right? No. Anyway, Mr. Suspension and professional wrestler himself setting his eyes on Kimbo Slice right now in a pro boxing match. Have you thought of any kind of fighter that has not had his eye on one game plan that he's actually doing at the moment? Okay, he had his eyes on professional wrestling when he was suspended. Okay, now that he's in professional wrestling and he's able to do it, he's looking at Bellator. And he's going to be fighting in Bellator soon. Now he's already eyeing a boxing match with Kimbo Slice. Dude, man, settle down, guy. King Mo's a good competitor, man. Great competitor. He's done well. He's done really well. I think there's some fights that he did shitty in, but I don't know, man. I guess it depends on the promotion. You know, whatever. But, i.e. Gegard Mousasi beat the living daylights out of him, but he still won the fight. But anyhow, if you can hold somebody down the whole entire match, even though you're getting your ass kicked while you're on top of somebody, I guess the judges see you as winning. He looked like fucking ground up fucking cow meat after that fight, man. You look, he went through a meat grinder. Eye all blown out to here, all fucked up. Oh, he's the champion, though. Was on top of the guy the entire time, but got the living shit kicked out of him. Anyway, man, you guys are taking me back to these memories and shit, but anyway. Good old King Mo setting his eye on a boxing match with Kimbo Slice, though. Must be looking for a... let him go to it, though, man. I say let him go to it. Let him stay there, too. I have no desire to see him fight. Not a fan of King Mo. Just going to go ahead and say it. But Bjorn Rebney, the man of Bellator, says, on a case-by-case basis, I will look into the Strikeforce fighters. On a case-by-case basis. Well, you better fucking hurry up, because they're all going to run to the UFC if you don't jump on it. You're going to find, like, are you going to grip up all the losers of the last Strikeforce card? I mean, I don't get what he's getting by that. On a case-by-case basis. Lately, I like Bellator, man. It's still entertaining because it's on free TV. It's very wavering, you know what I mean? There's not a consistency with good shows, in my opinion. Like you and myself find to be a knowledged fight fan show. You know what I mean? UFC has been able to put on those shows, obviously because they got all the money, whatever, and got the power right now. Bellator's had a few fighters that they should have hung on to, but maybe they got a little too big in the pants for themselves, so they thought, well, we got to cut these guys because they didn't win or whatever. I mean, look, if you want to do your own research, man, look into it. Bellator's done a few cuts that I just don't understand. Seth Petrozelli was one of them. They had a couple guys come in, man, and I like I said, man, I can't. Bring them all to light, to you and tell you about all of them. But there's, over the last, I'd say 2 years in Bellator, there's been a couple of fighters that they brought in and they've let go. And it's like, after one or two fights, you're letting them go? I mean, do you think you're really in shape enough right now to be cutting fighters that are of decent name right now? Is it a good idea? It's not a good idea, because what you're doing is you're cutting them, but at the same time you're letting them go somewhere else, which could get them right back to UFC and make you look stupid. Just don't stop doing that. Bellator needs to hang on to some of these fighters that they're cutting. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's like a mass exodus going on here or something like that. I'm not saying that. Like I said, man, if I wanted to, I could go right to the map right now here and find a few fighters that they've cut in the last year or two that they shouldn't have. But this is not a video about that, so I can't go into detail on it. Maybe I will soon, but because that's actually a good idea. But look into it, man. Seriously, Bellator's been not picking up or not continuing with fighters that they should be continuing with. You should give these guys another chance, because they're big names and they're bringing people to you. Because some of these names, I'm like, I want to see how they stack up in a Bellator. And they might not do that great at first, because they might be coming off like a year and a half layoff because they haven't been able to find any fights, shit like that. They go elsewhere, they do awesome. And it's like, guys, come on, man. Bellator's done a really good job at finding new talent. And I know the obvious reasons why they don't want to hang on to him, because you don't want to hang on to somebody that looks like a UFC has-been. Obviously. We're not fucking stupid. Anybody that knows anything about business, you don't want to have a has-been in your corner. But I mean, if somebody that's still a fighter that draws, you don't want to shit can him. Stupid move. But anyway, man, it's not a Bellator video, man. So let's move on by all means, man. StrikeForce's last night of fights, man. Let's get to it. Run down all these fights, man. It was a crazy night. Crazy night. Tarek Safdie surprised me, man. Surprised me big time. Some of these fights I do got to watch back, because we were doing some celebrating during the whole damn thing and having a good time with it all night. I got to rewatch these, man. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm not going to bring you a video with a bunch of shit that's untrue. I won't do it. So I'm going to tell you right now, man. We were doing a lot of partying. We were having a good time. It kind of impairs your judgment. It's brought to you by Jaeger. Damn straight. Ryan Couture taking on KJ Nunes. I thought KJ Nunes won the fight. Ryan Couture was out there like a freaking nutcase. Running around on the defense with some crazy shit. Probably the craziest fight he has ever seen in his career, obviously. His pro career. Only being, 6-1, 7-1, whatever you want to call it. KJ Nunes brought it to Ryan Couture. I thought he beat him. Like I said, I'm not a judge. It was a split decision win. I thought KJ Nunes was that much ahead of him. Ryan Couture seemed to kind of squeak out of some of the exchanges, and not find his way on a bad note. You know what I mean? Ryan came in looking good, man. I don't know what his amateur career was. A few fights in, he looked good. Then he got beat, you know what I mean? Then he's coming off a couple of wins, faces of KJ Nunes, which I thought from the get-go was a bad idea, man. KJ Nunes is gonna whip this kid's ass, and I thought he did just that. For the most part, was way too active for Ryan Couture. He did not go anywhere near the ground, at least not for the majority of the fight. Trevor Hot Sauce Smith taking on Tim Kennedy. It's actually a really good fight. Really, really good for the first. I'd say the first round, Trevor Smith was kind of taking it to Tim Kennedy, man. Looked pretty damn good. Pretty good square fight. I would say Hot Sauce kind of started to lose a little bit of his spice, if you will. Hot sauce, a little spicy, started to lose a little bit of his spiciness towards mid-second round. Kennedy started working his game plan. And Tim Kennedy is just a fucking beast. Tim Kennedy, you can't. I could see down the road maybe Soldier versus Soldier. Tim Kennedy taking on a Brian Stan, something like that. Maybe it's more comedy than it is reality. But Brian Stan's. They're both the same weight class, man. It could happen, man. It could very well happen. Like I said, I think it's a little more comedy than it is reality. But not more than I think about it. It actually could become reality. Because Tim Kennedy and Brian Stan, I think, would be a cool fight, man. I think it actually would be a cool fight. Who knows, man? They might have they might have met each other somewhere in service, but anyway, and hats off to both of them, man, for sure. But Tim Kennedy takes it. Trevor Smith, guillotine choke, man. Nice submission, great performance, man. Tim Kennedy is a game opponent. I don't care who's across from him. I don't care if it's a heavyweight. He'll be a game opponent, man. These guys just tough as nails, man. Anthony Smith comes out with Roger Gracie. From the Gracie family, obviously starting to prove it a little bit here and there, you know what I mean? He's kind of a rough start, you know what I mean? Kind of like a Ryan Couture, man. He comes out, you know, gets a couple of wins under his belt, has a rough time, you know, in his third or fourth fight. Now he's back on a couple of wins. Faces Anthony Smith. I thought, you know, Anthony Smith, man, this could be a really good fight for him if he's able to keep it keep it standing up, man. This could be a great fight for him because he's a good, tough kid, great stand-up ability, man. And I think it'd be really good for this kid to get into the UFC, get in with the right training camp. This kid could be a fucking warrior in UFC, man. I think a kid could really make a stink. You know, at least have a good career, you know, with that chance. You know what I mean? To me, the kid shows that much promise. You know, I'm talking about Anthony Smith. Obviously, Roger Gracie, you know, still early in his career, too. It's a great win. You know, and that's a great win. Because Anthony Smith is no joke, man, and he got a hell of ability going on in his stand-up. Punches, kicks, everything, man. I mean, there's nothing bad to say about his stand-up. Roger Gracie was able to implement the game plan, get him down to the ground, submission, arm triangle choke. When you got a stand-up guy in there like Anthony Smith, man, it's not an amazing feat to be able to pull that off. You know, not ragging on Anthony, man. I mean, he's just still got something to learn. You know what I mean? You know, he's got a fancy-looking record, man. The record looks good, but it's like, got to have the ground game in there, man. You got to have the ground game. Not saying he doesn't, but sometimes you just meet that. You find yourself in that fight, and you just takes you to a new level, man. It makes you realize, you know what, man, shit, I need to kick this shit up a notch. My stand-up is good, but when it comes to submissions, man, my defense needs to go up a little bit here, man. I got to kick it up a notch. Grinder, puncher, wrestler, grind him out, beat him up. Mr. Pat Healy, which I thought, you know what, this is a good fight for Pat Healy, you know what I mean? Pat Healy's been a vet in the game, man. He's been in the game a long time, man. He's taking on Kurt Hollowbaugh. I didn't know nothing about Kurt Hollowbaugh coming into this. I thought, you know what, he's taking on a newbie. Which 7-1, he may as well be taking on a newbie. Kurt Hollowbaugh did awesome in this fight. Awesome in this fight. I don't care what anybody says, man. Kurt Hollowbaugh had every deck stacked against him. You know, if you look at his talent and how good this kid looks, UFC should pick up a kid like this because he went in with somebody that was... Kurt Hollowbaugh went in there with somebody that had so much more experience in their repertoire that the deck was stacked against him, man, clearly. And the guy did awesome. I'd say the only thing that didn't help him is lack of experience. A little more experience under his belt, a little more training, a little more just knowledge in the game, man. I think he'd beat a Pat Healy, man. You know what I mean? So it's another fighter I think UFC should, if you're not going to grab him now, you better keep an eye on him because the kid is good, man. Really good. And it was a good matchup for Pat Healy because Pat Healy had to work for that win. He had to work hard for that win. It wasn't nothing to, Pat Healy had a match against Gilbert Melendez a couple months ago. It didn't make any fucking sense to me. This fight made a lot more sense if Pat Healy had to work his ass off to get the win. It was a unanimous decision in their minds, but Kurt Hollowbaugh did good, man. And I will keep an eye on that guy, man. That guy did awesome in that fight. Kurt Hollowbaugh, to me, was more impressive in this fight with the uphill battle that he had to face than Pat Healy did in facing a newcomer. That's all I'll say. And I'm not ragging on Pat Healy, man. Like I said, man, he's a grizzled vet, tough guy, grind you out, wrestle you, beat you down. That's just the fighter he is, man. And I don't think he deserves a title shot with Gilbert Melendez like he was supposed to have. It was announced a couple months ago. That's why I said a couple months ago, but it was just last Saturday. But I'm glad it didn't go down because it would have been ugly. I don't think it would have been that great of a fight, really. let's move on to the main card. Jacare taking on Ed Herman. I thought it was kind of ballsy, Ed Herman coming over here, taking on ex-champion. Jacare Souza defeats Ed Herman in the first round, man. I thought, like I said, I thought it was a ballsy move by Ed Herman, but at the same time, it's like, that's who Ed Herman is, man. He's a ballsy dude. That dude will, drop of a hat, will jump in any card, jump in any chance, you know what I mean? And he's got, I commend him for that, you know what I mean? Hats off to the guy for coming in, just being a replacement, you know what I mean? Shit like that. And pretty friggin' game opponent, you know what I mean? In a Jacare. Jacare proves, keeps pressing on, man. Keeps pressing on after his title loss, to Rockhold. Keeps pressing on, and I think we're going to see some good shit from Jacare, man. I mean, in UFC, I think he's gonna have a really hard time, obviously, but I don't know, man. We'll see, man. It's really kind of tough to say where he's going to go from here, because I think in the middleweight top 3, it's going to be a rough road for him, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Mike Kyle taking on Gegard Mousasi. Gegard Mousasi, I think, the sky's the friggin' limit for this guy. 33-3 is a record. You guys know what I think of Gegard Mousasi. Mike Kyle's no joke either, man. Mike Kyle's a badass. You know what I mean? We've seen his chin get checked a few times. That's no big surprise with a lot of fighters, I think Cain Velasquez got his chin checked a few times already, you know what I mean? But who's the UFC heavyweight champion right now? Cain Velasquez, man. The guy's fooled me dozens of times, you know what I mean? Well, no, I have dozens, but the guy's fooled me several times. Mike Kyle, man. Mike Kyle was gamed. Game looked ready to go, man. Same with Gegard. And Gegard pulled that shit out. Rear naked choke. End of the first round. I'm really excited to see Gegard Mousasi. I'm excited to see him somewhere where I think he is excited to be. Because I think in his last year and a half, he just don't look excited. He doesn't look like he's happy where he's at. It looks like he's just going there, I got to make some money. Time to make the donuts. It's just opponents that I don't really want to fight. I want to fight higher opponents, I guess. So, and I've already heard, we've already heard that Gegard Mousasi is already, his camp has already been talks with UFC. So I think this whole card was a deciding factor of who's going to go to UFC. Whether it might be both contestants or the winner, or you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? That's like a Kurt Hollabaugh and a Pat Healy. I think they both should go. I think they both deserve that shot. Pat Healy, I'm not, I'm a fan. I like the guy, but I think he does deserve a shot. Bring him over, man. Bring him to the main stage. Give the guy a shot, man. He's paid his dues. He's paid him. Kurt Hollabaugh deserves a shot, man. Don't bring him in so damn high, though, because he doesn't have a shit ton of experience. Bring him in, you know what I mean? Bring him into an area where he's experienced at. And let him go. Let him go, man. See what he can do, because he fought a hard battle. Pat Healy did really, really good. Pat Healy was the harder worker in that fight, in my opinion. But moving along, man. Josh Barnett taking on Nander Gelmino. Barnett, man, takes him out. Submission arm triangle choke in round 1, man. I mean, I think it's a smart decision if you want to keep Josh Barnett on a good road, which Gelmino had a good shot, and Gelmino had a good shot just as much as Cormier did. Josh Barnett did great, man. He looked good. Whether he's going to be in the UFC, I don't know. I think the only thing that's really going to hold Josh Barnett from getting in the UFC right now is his relationship with Dana White. We know over the years it hasn't been that good. Josh Barnett has came out and said years ago that Dana White's a hindrance to the sport. Maybe he's eating them words now. Who knows? Dana White might see to him eating those words. You never know. Somebody out there might know a little more than I do, man. I don't know. But as of right now, it's like, it's still up in the air whether Josh Barnett's going to be in the UFC or not. I think he should get a shot, though. My personal opinion, man. Daniel Cormier taking on Dion Starring. Dion Starring looked good, man. Looked good. It just looked like Cormier was just too ready. Maybe Dion. I don't know, man. I really don't know what to say about it, man. It just Cormier's just so much momentum in the guy's corner right now. Just so much. The guy's so talented, man. So gifted too. So it's like you can't take nothing away from him right now. He's just if he goes to UFC and he gets in the title contention range, obviously we know he's not going to take on a Cain Velasquez. So I think he's going to go to 205. If he takes on a John Jones and keeps proving what he's worthy of, I think he could have a really good fight with John Jones. John Jones would have to prove that his wrestling is good, A, because he may get taken down. His submissions better be good too, damn it. And would have to prove that his reach is good, because he's going to have to. You're starting on your feet, so you're going to have to prove that you got some kind of good jab to hold off of Cormier, because Cormier is going to be coming for you. And this guy has not had a single problem with people that have 3-4 inch reach advantage on him, or more. So I mean, this guy just has a way of getting inside, using his center of gravity, man, his body weight, just using it against you. He's impressive, man. He's very impressive, and I think if he keeps doing what he's doing, he can be a serious threat to when it comes to a John Jones. Just my opinion. Dion Starring, I hope to see him again, man. I really do, man. I hope maybe he'll get a shot in the UFC. You know what I mean? I don't see him doing bad. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. Maybe in a lower promotion we might see him. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to say he's made a name for himself, because I really haven't known much about the guy before this. Tarek Saffiedine taking on Nate Marquardt, unanimous decision. Saffiedine jumped on him quick, and was super fast. Started beating Nate up with leg kicks, shit like that. It was a whole different approach, Tarek, than it was from Tyrone. Tyrone Woodley. He took the smarter approach and got more on the offense in an area where it didn't seem like Nate was going to bother you much. You know what I mean? Tarek Saffiedine was really going for the legs, hard, fast, just early, really early. Jumped on him fast, early, right in the get-go. And it paid off miles. Paid off big time. And hats off, man. I've always been a fan of Tarek Saffiedine, man. 14-3. I don't know if he brought it to 15-3 now, but big fan of Nate Marquardt too, man. Nate Marquardt's a fucking vet in the game and still at it, man. Still at it. Been in the game a long time, still a rising career, man. Still a rising career. You know what I mean? I'd love to see the guy in the UFC. Like I said earlier, man, I don't want to see him getting up in there with these number 2s and number 3s. UFC does something like that, they're fucking retards. Okay? You're a fucking idiot. Don't bring him into a number 2 or number 3 status just because he won the belt. You don't fucking do that. You bring him in accordingly. Like right now, would you bring Nate Marquardt in and have him face fucking Anderson Silva? Or would you have him come in and face a GSP? No, you wouldn't. Why would you do that? So why would you have Tarek Saffiedine do it? What, he just won the belt from Nate? Come on, man. Don't be stupid. So bring these guys in accordingly. It don't make any sense for a guy that, is a champion in Strikeforce to bring him into the UFC top notch. It don't make any sense. Strikeforce champion versus a UFC champion, in my opinion, hands down, does not prove to be even a fucking fair game. It's just not. UFC has all the top competition. It wasn't always that way, man. It wasn't always that way. It probably hasn't been that way for probably longer than 3 years. But they've gotten there. All the top competition is there. And if the top competition isn't there, then they're not well known enough. That's just fucking flat out, man. I mean, that's what it is. Just because they look good in Strikeforce doesn't mean they're going to get title shots. And I'm talking to the UFC, basically. Don't bring them in there stupidly. You guys know what you're doing, man. That's what I'm saying. You guys know what you're doing, don't? Anyhow, man, I hope you guys liked the video, man. I probably rambled on way too much, man. I apologize for it early, but hope you guys liked the video, man. Sub if you haven't. Legal Elbow Show, number 5. Sub and comment, man. Tell me what you think, man. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of these Strikeforce guys coming over? Who deserves to get over here? And who do you see them fighting next, man? Little homework assignment for you. Alright, man. We'll see you guys soon, man. Take care. Bam! It's the Illegal Elbow Show.